Hey guys, this is Aaron. I just wanted to start a quick series of tutorial videos on how to start with Blender and export a series of PNGs that we can compile into a sprite sheet that we can then use for animation in Blender. You could just start with something like GIMP or a photo editor and build your PNGs one frame at a time, but Blender really does some powerful things for us, so we're going to start there. But those are the four. We're going to have four softwares that this is kind of focused on. We're going to start with Blender, and I will have that in the video descriptions here, a link to install that. Later we're going to use GIMP and an add-on for GIMP, and then we'll use Texture Packer for creating the sprite sheet, and then finally we will use Unity, a pretty solid game development framework. But we're going to start here in Blender. We're going to create what I'm calling the Quell engine for a game that I'm working on. This is Blender version 2.79, and just kind of show you what we're getting up to. Let me find this guy. It'll be something kind of like this is what we're getting to, and this is kind of what I'm going to base the Quell engine off of that. And I hope to have more on that coming, but for now we'll just start with this. So we're going to hit X, delete that, and we're going to come over here to the Create tab, and we're going to drop a cone in. We don't want anything for what we're making. We're just going to drop these vertices over here to 4, and that's going to make it just kind of a pyramid. And instead of being such a long pyramid, we're going to drop it to 1.5 and come out with this kind of a geometry. So now to make the Quell engine, we actually have 2 of these, and so we're going to select this with a right click. Control C is copy. You'll notice here, copy selected objects. Control V is going to drop one in. Now hit the R button to rotate it, but to lock that rotation on the X axis, hit the X button key, and then hit 180, and that's going to be 180 degrees, completely flips that upside down. Hit enter, that's going to drop it in place, and now we have a transform widget. We're going to just drag that guy straight down somewhere about there. Okay, so now we have, looks kind of like the inside of our engine, but we want to be able to interact with this as one single item, and so we're going to select both of our objects here. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can hit B, and this will give you a box selector where you drag over the areas that you want, or you can right click and then hold shift and right click again, and that's kind of like your control select on anything else Windows, but we select a couple of things there, and you'll notice we have them both selected. Now that we have 2, we can hit Control J. That will join them into one, or you can actually go down here to Object and hit Join right here. But now that we have it, notice this point of origin is no longer in the center of the geometry, and so we want to fix that. So come back down here to Object and make sure this object is selected. Object, and then we're going to go to Transform, and then Geometry to Origin. Nope, sorry, Origin to Geometry. And that will recalculate where it is and drop it right in there. Okay, so now that we have that, we can specify what's the location of this origin point. So we're going to come over here to this Object tab, and we will enter our location. I just like working with this on the center point. We're going to change all these location controls to 0. Okay, I don't know why that's. We'll just start with that as at 0 as well. -0 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is our geometry we're going to be working with. So the next video we're going to talk about animation, which is kind of a complex. There's a lot of things that go into that, so it's going to be a longer video, and so just kind of prep work to get there. we use our camera for rendering, and whatever is in the view of this camera or the active camera is what will be rendered. And so if you want to see what your view looks like if you were to render it right now, hit the 0 key on your numpad, and that will switch you over to camera mode. So this is focused on our object, but not the way that we want it, because we're going to be using the engine in a 2D game, and we kind of want a straight on shot of it. So what we're going to do here, hit 0 again, come back out here to the camera. You have that. We're going to set this camera over here. I'm going to hit 0, 0, 0, and let's just bring it back here on the, I believe this is the X. We're going to just bring it out. Well, that's the Y, but that's fine. So we're out here on the Y-axis, 5 points, but notice now it's pointing somewhere. So what we want to do is we actually want to make this always focus on our object, and then we don't have to worry about getting it aligned so properly. Sorry, I've forgotten how to talk. Come over here, hit this constraint tab. We're going to add an object constraint to track 2, and then we get to just select our object. You can either do it from the drop down, or there's a little selector widget and you can hit there. Either way will work. Now we're going to do the 2 -Z, and the up is going to be Y. And notice our camera now is in the proper orientation. If we hit 0, we come in, and that's just about perfect. I'm going to actually come back out here to the location and change this to 5.5, and let's see what that looks like. There, I like that even better. Okay, so this will get us set up for our next video. Notice if we drag this around, the camera focuses on it. I think that's a pretty cool trick. Anyways, all right, we're going to stop here. Thank you for watching, and join me for the next video. And we'll put the Blender download, or the link to Blender, in the description. Thanks.